So today we're going to talk about how to get everything you desire effortlessly through observation shifting. And we will be covering observation as causality, the theory of infinite states, the law of impartiality, temporal engineering, quantum entanglement, the holographic principle, the lag and the echo, identity architecture, resource generation mechanics, mastering the mental diet, summary, and lastly I will give you action steps to make this training practical for you. Right? So let's start. So let's begin by establishing the fundamental physics of your reality. You are not begging a deity for scraps. You are collapsing probability waves into physical particles through the mechanism of focused attention. Consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain, it is the fundamental substrate of reality. So before a thing becomes a physical object of matter, it exists as a wave of probability, which is energy. Your observation is a specific act that collapses this wave into a particle. In quantum physics, the collapse of the wave function occurs when an observer measures a system. In your life, you are constantly measuring your reality with your assumptions. So if you assume I am broke, you collapse the infinite field of possibilities into a single particle reality of poverty. You are literally freezing energy into a specific state through your expectation and assumptions. Most people practice passive observation where they simply react to what is already there, thereby recreating their past endlessly without stopping. Active observation is the deliberate act of observing a reality that does not yet exist to the physical senses, forcing the quantum field to rearrange itself to match the new measurement. Techniques like scripting, affirmations, and vision boards are merely delivery systems for the observation. They have no inherent power. A technique acts as a psychological permission slip. If you believe that writing a sentence 55 times makes it true, then the writing ritual gives your subconscious permission to accept the new truth. However, if you understand the root mechanism, you can bypass the ritual and go straight to the conviction. The universe does not care how you arrive at the feeling of wish fulfilled, it only cares that you arrive there. So, whether you visualize for an hour or simply decide in a split second that your desire is done, the energetic signature is identical, right? So, a critical theoretical distinction must be made over here. You are not creating anything new, you are selecting from what already exists in the quantum field. Understanding this shifts the work from laborious construction to tuning a frequency. This principle posits that every possible version of your life, every potential outcome, and every variation of reality already exists simultaneously in the quantum field. Just as every radio station is broadcasting right now, but you can only hear the one you are tuned to, every reality is live right now, but you only experience the one you are observing actively. You do not need to build a reality where you are wealthy or loved. That reality already exists as a complete complex state. Your task is not to create the furniture of that life, but to shift your consciousness to the coordinates of that reality in the quantum field. Every choice and every assumption shifts you to a parallel timeline. When you change your observation, you are literally stepping into a different version of Earth where that observation is a fact. So because all states exist right now, there is no process required to go from point A to point B other than the shift in observation, right? In physics, an electron can move from one orbit to another without traveling the space in between. It simply disappears from here and appears there. This is a quantum leap, right? In manifestation, you can leap from lack to abundance without a logical bridge of events, provided your observation is absolute. The bridge is a constraint of the logical mind, not the quantum field side. So stop listening to your logic. You don't need logic to manifest your desires because your logical mind will always try to sabotage your manifestations because your logical mind cannot comprehend the illogical ways the universe will provide you to manifest your desires. So the creative medium is a neutral, non-judgmental system. It operates with the cold precision of a computer code or a mirror. It does not filter for good or bad, it only filters for input received. So life is a mirror, not a judge, right? A mirror does not smile at you first, you must smile at the mirror and then it has no choice but to reflect the smile back. The formula is absolute. Dominant observation is equal to physical reality, right? There are no variables for luck or karma or worthiness. If you constantly observe that manifestation is hard, the mirror will faithfully reflect a reality where manifesting will be difficult for you. So to want something is to acknowledge that you do not have it. The mirror reflects this acknowledgement, right? So if you scream, I want money at the mirror, it reflects the image of a person wanting money, not having it, right? You must observe the presence of the desire, not the lack that drives the desire. The system is constantly updating based on your latest inputs. It is a live feed, not a static painting, right? If you spend 30 minutes visualizing your ideal relationship, which is input A, but then spend the next 8 hours ruminating on loneliness, which is input B overrides input A, right? It is the most recent and most dominant command. You are essentially placing an order and then immediately cancelling it. You are essentially placing an order and then immediately cancelling it. This is why if you visualize for 15 minutes a day but then spend the rest of the day worrying and staying in lack, that's why your manifestations are not working, right? Thoughts mixed with strong emotion, for example fear or ecstasy, are prioritized by the algorithm. A fleeting positive thought is weak compared to a fear-based obsession. This is why fearing the worst often manifests faster than hoping for the best, because the fear carries a stronger electrical charge, right? So let's talk about temporal engineering. Time is a persistent illusion that creates a separation between you and your desire. To manifest instantly, you must intellectually and energetically dismantle the concept of waiting, right? The most effective way to eliminate resistance is to frame the desire as a historical event rather than a future possibility. Questions like how will it happen or when is it coming only exist when you are waiting for a future event. You never ask when will I eat breakfast if you already ate it this morning. So by deciding the event is in the past, like I remember when I got the promotion, you instantly kill the anxiety loops. The brain stops searching for the solution because it believes that the event is already resolved, right? Now, the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vivid memory of a real event and a vivid imagination of a constructed event. By looping a scene in the past tense, you are implanting a false memory. So, once accepted by the subconscious, reality must reconfigure to validate this memory. And it doesn't matter if it's a real event or if it's a constructed event by your mind, right? So, distance in time is actually distance in vibration. In the ultimate reality, everything is happening right now. The past and the future are mental constructs, nothing else. When you say it is coming, you are pushing the object away from you on the timeline. When you say it is done, you are pulling the object into the now, collapsing the time buffer, right? So you cannot look for what you already have. The moment you stop looking for signs is usually the moment the manifestation appears. Why? Because stopping the search signifies to the universe that you have already found it. The state of having found manifests the object. So let's talk about quantum entanglement. This section addresses the interaction between your consciousness and other people or events. It provides the theoretical basis for why your internal changes can affect external actors without physical communication, right? So quantum entanglement suggests that particles that have interacted remain connected, sharing a state regardless of the distance between them. If you change the spin of one particle, the other changes instantly. So this we come to the principle that everything is you pushed out, right? This framework posits that the people in your reality are not acting with free will independent of you. They are reflecting your expectations of them. They are entangled with your consciousness. If you change your assumption of if you change your assumption about a person, for example, from they ignore me to they adore me, their behavior must shift to maintain the entanglement with your new state, right? You do not need to send a text message to influence someone. By changing your internal observation of them, you transmit a new coordinate because at a quantum level there is no separation. Your shift is their shift. But I want to but the nuance here is you're not actually changing the other person, right? You are just changing on how they react to you, right? You can only control your personal reality. So if I say everything and everyone is you pushed out, I mean it only for your personal reality. Just because some war is happening on the other side of the earth, that doesn't mean that it is you pushed out. Everything and everyone is you pushed out only for your own personal reality. So when you change the expectations for someone, that change in expectation will only reflect for you, right? You're not essentially changing the person, you're just changing their personality towards you, right? So you are not an observer watching a separate world, You are the system observing itself, right? Your influence is non-local. It does not travel through space. It does not travel through space. It exists everywhere simultaneously. This explains why synchronicities happen, why the person calls exactly when you release the resistance. The connection was never severed by distance, only by the dissonance in your observation, right? So, for example, in a hologram, if you cut a picture of a rose into pieces, each piece still contains the entire image of the rose. Similarly, your reality is fractal, right? The macro, which is your life circumstances, is contained entirely within the micro, which is your dominant thoughts and feelings. Your specific feeling state is the DNA of your reality. Just as a single cell contains the blueprint for the whole body, a single sustained feeling contains the blueprint for a whole series of events. You cannot change the body, which is the reality, without changing the DNA, which is your feelings, right? The world is not happening to you, it is happening from you, right? You are the projector, the film, and the light. The 3D world is merely the screen. If you dislike the movie, it is futile to yell at the screen, which is the external world, right? You must change the film, which is your internal observation. So we come to the point that reality is a feedback loop of your own data. The only reason the feedback is an instant is the density of the medium. However, the data integrity is 100%. What you output internally is eventually what you input externally as well. The holographic nature means there are no private thoughts. Every private thought is a seed for a public event. And the nuance here is you receive like 60,000 thoughts on the mental plane, and not all thoughts are going to manifest. So here, the thoughts I mentioned are not just random thoughts, but thoughts that are emotionally energetic, right? They are emotionally heavy. I'm only talking about thoughts that are emotionally charged, right? Not all thoughts are going to manifest because you'll have random thoughts throughout the day. That's not going to manifest. If it does manifest, then the world will be a really bad place, right? So I should change this actually. So every private emotionally charged thought is a seed for a public event, right? So the physical world is a dense and slower to move than the speed of thought. Understanding this lag is the key to not quitting right before the breakthrough. So for example, when you look at the night sky, you are seeing stars as they were thousands of years ago because the light takes time to travel. Similarly, your current life circumstances, for example, your bank balance, your relationship status, are the light from your past thoughts. They are dead data, right? They are a report card of how you felt last month. If you react to them emotionally, you are reinfecting the present with the past, creating a loop. Now, this is the master skill, the ability to walk through a failed reality while maintaining the internal conviction of success. You must become blind to the 3D evidence that contradicts your assumption, right? So when the 3D world shows you the opposite of what you want, it is not a sign of failure, it is a purge of old patterns. It is a result of old patterns. Sometimes things must go wrong to go right. So for example, you might be fired, which is in most cases it is a negative event, right? But it is happening for you to be forced into the entrepreneurship path that brings you millions, which is a positive manifestation. So if you spiral at the firing, you halt the bridge. You must trust that the bad event is a necessary stepping stone. Check out my previous video where I talk about the advantage method, which is very similar to this, right? So when a trigger occurs, view it as neutral feedback, or a more powerful way is to view it as a positive event rather than a negative event, right? So say this is just an echo, this is just the result of my previous thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and where I gave my attention to, right? Do not give it emotional fuel, do not react. You by starving the negative 3D circumstance of your attention, you suffocate it and it must fade away, right? Don't give it any attention, don't give it any emotional resistance. Just let it happen and just let it go, move on, and start consciously creating your future rather than staying stuck in the present or in the past, right? So manifestation is not about attracting something to you, it is about radiating something from you. You do not get what you want, you get who you are, right? So let's talk about a state of being. A state of being is a sum total of your beliefs, assumptions, and emotional baseline. You must metaphorically move into the version of you that already has your desire. How does that version work? How do they breathe? What is their internal monologue? You're not faking it until you make it, you're practicing a new frequency until it becomes your dominant resonance. The key to a stable manifestation is naturalness, right? If being rich feels exciting and unbelievable, you are not yet aligned with it. To a rich person, money is boring, it's normal. You must normalize the desire until it feels like your standard setting, not a miracle, right? Your self concept is the container that holds your reality. If your internal if your internal financial thermostat is set to survival, you can win the lottery, which is an external heat spike, but your self concept will eventually self sabotage to bring you back down to the survival setting. You must raise your internal setting first, right? This is why many people can't handle large amounts of money because their internal thermostat starts starts ringing, right? It signals danger to them. It's because they don't feel worthy of receiving large sums of money. If you ask someone, can you make $1 million next month? Apart from any logic, they would hesitate to say yes. It's because of this, right? So you are constantly telling yourself a story about who you are. I am unlucky in love, I have to work hard for money. These are just scripts. You must ruthlessly edit these scripts. If a thought does not align with your chosen character, then delete it, right? So applying these laws to money requires a specific detachment, as money is often the subject laden with the most survival fear. Money is a problem for many people, so let's tackle it, right? So the how is the domain of the universe, the what is the domain of the observer. When you insist money must come from a specific job or a person, you are blocking the millions of other channels the universe could use, right? You are trying to do the universe job. Your only job is to define the end result, which is financial freedom. Do not confuse the faucet, like your employer or your clients, with the water supply, which is abundance. If one faucet breaks, the water supply is still infinite. You just need to turn on a different faucet. Fear comes from believing that the faucet is the source when it is not, right? The feeling of wealth is not excitement, it is relief and security. A powerful exercise is to mentally spend money, right? So if you hesitate to buy a coffee mentally because it's too expensive, you have identified a subconscious block, right? So practice feeling the ease of purchase internally. And next, gratitude is the ultimate signal of reception. You only say thank you when you have received something, right? Therefore, living in a state of gratitude for your abundance even before it appears is a hack that tricks the mind into believing that the transaction is complete and the abundance is already exists in your present moment. So let's talk about your mental diet. This is the daily grind. This is where the work is actually done. It is the moment to moment policing of your internal world, right? So you are the only thinker in your mind. No one else is putting negative thoughts there. So you cannot stop a negative thought from popping up. That's your old program. But you can choose not to host it, not to engage with it, right? So you have 3 seconds to veto a thought before it starts an emotional chemical reaction. Catch it, label it as false, and replace it immediately, right? When you catch yourself spiraling, what if this doesn't work or how will this happen? Violently interrupt the pattern, physically move, say stop out loud, or instantly switch to a pre selected positive memory, right? So, manifestation is a marathon of consistency, not a sprint of intensity. Just because it is better to have a subtle background feeling of everything is working out for 12 hours rather than to have 10 minutes of intense visualization followed by anxiety, right? The background hum of your mind creates your life. Persistence does not mean repeating the technique over and over and over to make it happen. Persistence means not giving up the assumption that it is done, even when the 3D world denies it. It is a stubborn refusal to accept the no as an answer from reality that stops you from manifesting your desires. It is a stubborn refusal to accept no as an answer from your physical reality that manifests your desires. Right? So let's summarize everything. Observation equals reality, right? The act of observing a potentiality collapses it into a physical reality. There is no other creative power. You are not building a new reality, but tuning in. You are not building a new reality, but tuning in into an existing one from infinite states of the multiverse. There is no separation. Changing your internal state instantly shifts the behavior. There is no separation. Changing your internal state instantly shifts the behavior of others or other things via quantum entanglement. The external world is a holographic projection of your own internal data. Changing the film, which is your internal state, to change the world, or to change the movie, which is your 3D life. By utilizing the past tense protocol, you trick the subconscious into believing that the desire is already attained, already fulfilled, collapsing the time buffer. You manifest your state of being, not your fleeting thoughts. You must embody the identity of the person who already has your desire. So let me give you some action steps to make this training as practical as possible. So for the next 24 hours, I want you to monitor every thought regarding your desire. If a thought is in the future tense, like I hope, I want, can I get it, any future tense thought, rewrite it immediately to the past tense. If you think, I hope I will get it, rewrite it to, I am grateful that I got it, right? Next is, when you see something you dislike in your reality, do not react to the object. Ask yourself, what within me is causing this fear? What within me is causing this dislike, right? Contemplate on it, self-reflect on it, right? And address the internal feeling, knowing that the external image must follow suit. So whatever you go through in your physical reality, always stay aware of your internal state. And if you react to something external, look back and think, why am I reacting to this? My desires, it is already done. So if it is already done, why would I react to this external reality? Because external reality is just an illusion, right? Next is, if you have trouble with a specific person, write down their current behavior and then write down the behavior that you prefer. Burn the first list, read the second list and assume they have always been that way. You are shifting the entanglement coordinates. You are shifting that person's behavior towards you and you alone, right? And next is, write down all your worries about how your desire will manifest. Read them once, realize they are limiting restrictions, and physically burn or shred the paper to symbolize total detachment from the method of delivery, right? And next and final action I have for you is, implement a zero tolerance policy for spirals. When a doubt arises, you have 3 seconds to say, no, that's an old story, and pivot your attention to a fact that implies your success. Either go for a positive memory or imagine yourself having a desire instead of you engaging on the negative thought and spiraling into negativity and affecting your frequency, right? So that's it from me. I hope this video was as valuable as it can get, and if you want to work with me personally, then check out the link in the description, because if you work with me, I can give you specific tailored advice and protocols, or even personalized meditations that can help you and manifest your desired reality, right? So that's it from me. I will see you in another video.